Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. Joining me, as always, over there in New York City, my man, Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
Scheme, theme, scheme, theme, scheme.
Theme. It rolls on, Dan.
It does. I'm good. I'm very excited for this show. I've long admired our guest, both in terms of his ability on the football field and as a speaker. Tajh Boyd is, and I mean, his college career started out as heartbreak for me because I was positive he was going to go to Oregon, which is insane for somebody from like the Tidewater region of Virginia.
Yeah, that's right.
To just
that's right.
Be confident that they'd go to Eugene. But I was an enormous fan of watching Tajh at Clemson during the birth of this dominant Tiger offense with Chad Morris and subsequently with the co-coordinators there now.
And this is not a true scheme theme show in the same way that we've done these shows over the last couple of weeks. This is much more
human, Ty.
A human discussion. Hey, high profile quarterback. What's it like to try and apply all the X's and O's that we heard from Seth Luttrell and Joe Moorhead? What's it like to communicate in the manner that we heard Chris Brown elaborate on a week ago? What is it like to actually be the person trying to execute these things out there on the field and in the huddle?
In a certain way, then, Ty, it might be the most scheme theme episode because we are adding all of these elements together and going inside of the brain responsible for holding a football and moving a football in a forward direction.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Daniel.
Yes.
Who sponsors our scheme theme month?
Oh my God. I am so excited by our friends at Oliver's Apparel. I am back and forth all over the country. And the one constant in my life is I try to work out and I try to be comfortable and I try to eat after I work out, Ty, because I burn some calories and my tum-tum gets ready for action. So I'm so excited that Oliver's Apparel is there for me. You, of course, know they're all over short.
Yes,
which
of course.
Is just landmark, Ty.
Yep.
You treat your lower body, Ty. That's how I live my life. You know, from footwear to these shorts, they're so comfortable. You put them on, and you're like, oh, I'm moving up a level in life. The all over short is that great. And you know what? After your workout, you want to get a burrito like your good pal Dan? No problem. Go get that burrito because sometimes with that wonderful elastic tie, the burrito post-workout life is perfect for the Oliver's all over short. And they have everything. You know, you want a long sleeve shirt. I've been wearing that because it's been a little chillier outside on runs. Perfect. Holds up great. Wicks all the sweat off. But it looks good, Ty.
Yeah.
I have a weird shape to me. It looks good.
Oliver's Apparel.
Oliversapparel.com
is where you want to go. OLIVERS APPAREL. Oliversapparel.com. Go there today. Learn more, not just about the shorts, but about their full line of clothing. Again, doesn't matter if you need something for the workout or your everyday life. It's great. It's high quality. As Dan said, it's going to help you up your game. And for our listeners and our listeners only,
yes,
they're going to knock 15% off your order today if you use the code SOLID at checkout. SOLID at checkout. That's oliversapparel.com. Use our special scheme theme month offer code of SOLID at checkout. You will save 15% with our friends again over at Oliver's Apparel. Daniel?
Yeah, I know everybody has workout stuff from like college that's sort of the elastic's been stretching and maybe there's sweat marks everywhere. You're a grown-up, Ty. I've seen you. You're a grown-up. Up your game a little bit. This is a new phase of life, Ty. This is a lifestyle for me and everything's made here. The great US of A.
Yep.
I'm a huge fan. Oliversapparel.com.
Huge fan of Oliver's. Check them out. We are also here at The Verbal. Huge fans of our next guest. He is a gentleman by the name of Tajh Boyd.
So a terrific career at Clemson, including All-ACC, ACC Player of the Year. He's an All-American. His final game, and I think we watched this together, Ty.
That's right.
The Orange Bowl against Ohio State in 2014, a win over Braxton Miller in Ohio State. When I last interviewed him, this was after he was drafted. He told me he didn't trust dolphins, the animal, not the team. Ladies and gentlemen, Tajh Boyd, how you doing?
What's up, Dan, Ty? Appreciate you guys having me on. I'm doing well. About to go hit the gym real quick. And
What's today's focus at the gym? Is it leg day? Are we working on shoulders? Where are we hitting?
Well, I hit legs yesterday. I took a spin class this morning just to get some cardio in, and I'm gonna go ahead and lift. I'm trying to shred up a little bit. I'm hoping that it helps my golf game, but I don't think that's the cause for my problems out there. So
fair enough. So
I'm trash on the golf course. Godly.
So what we're talking about this week, and this is sort of a broader theme for the month, but also for what we're going to talk about today, is sort of the learning and application process of being a quarterback. And you started for 3 years. You were at Clemson for 4 years. You had huge amounts of success. I think you only won double-digit games every year. So it feels like even though you are consistently very good, you would have, I think, some interesting insight into this. So I guess let's start from the beginning. You're a star high school player in a very competitive area. How were your habits then in terms of studying, executing a playbook? Do you feel like these habits helped or hurt you coming into Clemson?
Well, all right. So where I'm from in Virginia, there's been just a plentiful amount of athletes to come out of there. So EJ May we went to middle school together. And for those of you who do know EJ May, he's a quarterback for the Oakland Raiders right now. Tyrod Taylor was my rival in high school. The area is just flooded with talent, man. Percy Harvin, we played Little League in high school together my first year. I used to go watch D'Angelo Hall when he was at Deep Creek High School. Seeing Marcus Dick play safety, punter, and quarterback. As far as me in the quarterback realm, my dad, man, was really the one who gave me an opportunity and instilled in me that I could do that. So didn't really have any, like some of these kids now are working with these top grade quarterback coaches. I didn't have any of that. It was my dad. He built a handmade target. I never had any real friends out there. My friend was the football, and we just put in a dumb amount of hours to perfect that craft, which is why I was disappointed in how my NFL career turned out, because I know the amount of work I put in there. But went to high school, man, went to Phoenix. There I was 43-2 as a starter, won 2 state championships, lost in the state semis my junior year. Didn't really throw the ball a lot, though, so I used to go to all these different circuits. So Nike camps, Elite 11 regionals, ended up getting to the finals in the Elite 11. And that class consisted of A.J. McCarron, Aaron Murray, Geno Smith, Matt Barkley. It was a pretty solid group of guys, but that was where I knew I could compete with the other top quarterbacks in the country. So it just gave me that boost of confidence. Tore my ACL my senior year, third game of the year. Played 12 games of the torn ACL. Got a late invite to the Army All-American game. Ended up winning MVP of that. So I mean, my high school career was pretty prolific. But when I decided to commit to Clemson wasn't at the time a spread offense. I didn't want to play in the spread offense. I wanted the opportunity to play in NFL. So at the time, I thought the only way to do that was to play in a pro style offense. Hence why I didn't go to West Virginia. That was the team I originally committed to. And I even got rivals to change my classification. So originally I was a dual threat, and I was like, look, I don't want to be labeled as that. I want to be labeled as a pro style quarterback. I dropped back every play in the high school, not in the shotgun. So I don't know why I'm labeled as that, but kind of how that deal went. My first year OC got fired my first couple of years, and then they brought in Chad Morris, who at the time had just came from Tulsa a couple of years removed from high school. So interesting dynamic there, but yeah, I kind of went on a little rant right there. But yeah, let's go. What you guys got? So
what was it like in terms of, do you feel like you were a good studier? Do you feel like, going from high school to college, obviously you committed to, I think it was Billy Napier, your freshman year, offensive coordinator.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like you had good studying habits? Do you feel like you had a good command of the playbook? Do you feel like you took things seriously in terms of your responsibilities in learning what was expected of you from a learning the offense perspective?
Yeah, but I never felt like I had the formal training as far as understanding schemes and things of that nature. I mean, in high school, we pretty much broke it down into two sides of the fields. So you would look at your initial shell, but it was either one high or too high, and that's pretty much how I based all of my concepts off of. So if it's too high, staying away from the outside verticals. If it's one high, I'm taking those shots. So that's pretty much how we broke it down in high school. But everything we did was also play action. So, I mean, there was times where I literally threw the ball 8 times a game. So to get to Clemson, the system was very similar. So I didn't necessarily have a hard time as far as picking up the system. Where I lacked that was understanding the speed of the guys I was playing against, and just figuring out that sense of urgency out there. So playing under Napier in that traditional system, I felt like that converted. It just wasn't as exciting as that sprint offense. So when Chad came in, it was such a transition because at that point, again, I had never played in the shotgun. Everything I did was under center.
Right.
So I remember trying to get a shotgun snap, and Morris having to teach me everything over and over and over. And he essentially told me that spring, like, look, if you can't figure it out, I'm going to find somebody that will. And this was heading into my sophomore season.
Taj, so let's talk about that in particular, because obviously, as you've described, the jump from high school to college is pretty significant, not just in terms of the style and the schemes and the speed of the game itself, but the playbook is a lot more sophisticated. How long does it take you to see on the field, to be confident on the field with what you're essentially trying to absorb on paper?
Well, see, that's the thing. It depends on, because now you break it down and we classify them into two types of learners. Some guys can take mental reps and just pick up on it. I was never one of those guys, unfortunately. I had to physically do it out there for me to understand it, for me to make sense. So I think that's where you get when you get some of these guys. You take a Bruce Gradkowski or a Charlie Whitehurst or some of these guys that have floated around the league for 10, 15 years, they never have to actually take the rep to understand what's going on and to really see it for what it is. Where some guys, just have to do it in order to really make it make sense out there for them on the field. So, from that aspect, I mean, that's just kind of where I was.
Right.
And I mean, I needed to throw that route, and I needed to throw a couple of interceptions for me to understand why that play doesn't work or what I need to see out there on that field.
Is there such a thing as studying for the speed of the game? Because it's something you always hear, how the speed as you go from level to level is something that you need to adjust to. Can you study for that at all? Or is it truly just a matter of you need to go out there and take the reps before you can get a little bit more confident with it?
Yeah, you can't study the speed. I mean, it's like throwing a bang gate in that first window, right?
Yeah.
A bang gate is a 7-step skinny post. And you can look at it, but if you never rep it, you don't understand that when your foot hits that 5th step, that ball, there's no time for anything else. There's no time for a hitch. There's no time to drop the ball. I mean, you got to fire as soon as that 5th step hits the ground. But I mean, you can't really see that on film or watch it on the sideline. You have to get out there and really get a feel for it, and the timing with it. While timing is so important as well, because on paper it looks good. On the field, it might look totally different. It's like looking at a defense. When I was with the Jets, I mean, Rex Ryan, his damn defense was so complex. I would understand it on paper and look at it on film. Then I would get out there and it would look like I was looking at 40 defenders out there. They were rotating so many places and moving all over the place that you really needed to see it in order to really grasp it. And maybe that was just me. I just feel like that happens a lot for a lot of guys. The thing about college and pros, though, is that first off, you select the college you go to. You get a chance to make that decision. The pros don't work like that. They select you. For what reasons, you'll never really know. And they might have an idea of what's going to happen before you even get there. You have no control over that.
Just out of curiosity, can you give us an example of how things might vary from college to the NFL, from coach to coach?
Marty Mornhinweg is an extension of Bill Walsh in the original West Coast offense. There's still a few of those guys left in the NFL. It's a pedigree where they're built and taught a certain way. And Trey Wright, Florida 9 at Clemson, was a 3-by-1 set. So 3 receivers to the right, 1 receiver to the left. And it was a seam concept. My individual player that was isolated to the left runs a shallow cross. 3-by-1, Trey Wright, Florida 9. Same play with the New York Jets under Marty Mornhinweg. Was shift to halfback, swim right open, 2 jet, scat slam, all go special, eagle, shallow cross. The exact same play.
And you were running it with tempo at Clemson.
Right, and I'm running it in the damn huddle, yeah. But at the Jets, I'm running it with Nick Mangold screaming, spit the damn play out, rookie. And now I'm almost pissing down my pants because I had to get the play from Marty 12 times, for me to really be able to recite it. I'm sitting there, and now I finally get the play down and spit it out in the huddle. But then I walked to the line of scrimmage, and I forgot what I damn called, And I remember sitting there like, my goodness, because at that point, it's either you understand it or you don't. They're not in the business to be your friend or really your coach. It's a business. It truly is. You'll find a few coaches out there where they're going to take that time and really, spoon feed you. But that all depends on where you're drafted at. First, second rounders, they get that treatment. 4th through 7th, you're kind of on your own out there, So kind of one of those deals too. But man, we're getting 40, 50 plays a day at install, and I'm getting 2-3 reps of practice. So not only am I not seeing it, I'm seeing it on the sideline, but I'm not really doing it physically.
Right.
And I'm still trying to digest this first set of plays before I get to the next day install. And some of them were the same plays, but just different terminology, different verbiage. The sets were different. The alignments were different. So, you really it was tough for me personally.
So when you're at Clemson, just to get back to terminology, did you find that way of learning with a more simplified way of calling plays, especially because you had to call them quickly? You weren't in huddles like you would have been in the NFL.
For sure.
So that simplified way of play calls and perhaps a simplified passing and route tree, do you think that was advantageous to you as you're, 19, 20 years old to pick it up relatively quickly and move forward with confidence?
I think from a college standpoint, yes, because we played at such a high tempo that you got to make quick decisions. So if you can pick up on diagnose the defense and still get the ball off with 20 seconds left on the clock, you're doing amazing. NFL is a slower pace still. Not a lot of tempo. You'll see some floating around, but they use that whole clock. So it's not necessarily a huge deal to not run tempo in the NFL. So for college, it's advantageous. For the NFL, it doesn't really matter at that point because they're not in the business of getting 200 snaps a game like some colleges are.
So you pick up the offense relatively quickly in college, and you talked about needing those physical reps and live action to really get comfortable.
Yeah.
What took the longest to get comfortable with at Clemson? Was it sort of recognizing and diagnosing defenses? Was it, certain option routes or whatever, just the chemistry with your receivers? Was it your own timing and footwork and sort of vision? What was the last step to really master your comfort within the Clemson offense?
For me, it was the speed of it. Because of where I played at in high school and the type of offense we ran, we weren't a tempo team either. We took our time. Hell, we played 4-minute offense the whole year, As long as we won the game, that's kind of how we ran it, Whereas Chad Morris's whole concept, his whole system was built for speed. Because if it's not built for speed, then it doesn't work as effectively as it would. We're trying to draw defenders off sides, take free shots, get these guys tired, run 3 vertical concepts in a row. It's really on the strength of how tired is this defense and who's going to last in the fourth quarter. Whereas some of the teams, when you still look at the Penn States, you still look at the Georgias, even Oklahoma to an extent, like they don't necessarily run a full-on tempo. They still slow it down some. That's why they get the perception of still being pro-style, even though they may be in a shotgun as opposed to true tempo. And again, I think that it benefits these quarterbacks in college, but in college only to run tempo because it doesn't really matter at the NFL level.
So you mentioned the installation on the pro level of being, 40, 50 plays per day or something like that on a certain level.
Yeah.
when you're in college, what was, you have the job for 3 years, and maybe this changed over the course of your 3 years as you got older and more experienced, but what was the typical, how many plays were installed in a given week in college that, you would feel comfortable with?
In our game plan, we had about 70, 80 plays in the game plan, give or take, probably a little bit more every now and then. And the biggest thing with that is, you have, the thing in college is you have so much more time to understand what you're doing because, you're in a team setting most of the year anyways. In the professional ranks, you usually got to get with a quarterback coach in the offseason who understands what he's doing because those coaches in the NFL are taking vacation too. They want to get away and do their thing. So the self-teach is harder to do in a professional rank than it is college, and mainly because, in college, there's always going to be that support. The coaches go on a ski trip, but there's always going to be that graduate assistant who understands the playbook inside and out, who can help you diagnose it and understand it. Whereas in the pros, you're the only one sitting in there and you're watching it by yourself. So you can sit there and watch. You can watch 700 minutes of film, but if you understand why you're watching what you're watching, you're really just wasting your time.
You talk about in college sort of the communication that you had with coaches and always being in a team setting and the grad assistant who knows the playbook inside and out. Did you have input? I know, people have sort of mentioned this in the pros, quarterbacks who have been there forever, but you're in college, you're succeeding. Obviously, your coaches are seeing how you're succeeding with what types of plays you're succeeding. Do you have a conversation with, Chad Morris or whoever about what plays you're comfortable with in certain situations, your favorite plays on, third and fourth down or in the red zone? Do you have input as you become more experienced in college?
Oh, absolutely. We would go through and the whole week would be based off of that. So Monday, so you would have off obviously Sunday. And Monday would be your correction on film. Tuesdays, it's pretty heavy practice. Wednesdays, a pretty heavy practice. Thursday is a walkthrough. Fridays is walkthrough and movies and popcorn and everything else. Saturday's game time. So essentially what would happen is that Tuesday, you would really figure out, really what happened in the game, what was good, what you're going to scrap and everything else of that nature. And Wednesday is when we would start kind of dumbing it back down and saying, all right, look, this type of defense we're playing against, this is what you're going to be looking at. Tell me what you like in this situation. And we would base that system and those plays based off of the look that I was going to potentially get that week. So, the coach made half of the decision. I made the other half of it. And, really it's based off of the strengths of that particular player. I love throwing the deep ball. So we aim to throw 10 to 12 deep balls a game. And at any given time during the game, if I saw that look, I would take off and try to take a shot. And really what that would do is just put that defense in a situation where it loosened them up to the point where we were able to throw our out routes, our hitches, and our slants and everything else of that nature. But I did have enough input to the point where I was comfortable with everything that I was running. There wasn't one time that I could remember in college where we called a play and I wasn't comfortable with it like this. I know this play is going to die right here. So,
what was your favorite third down play in college?
I love the sail concept. So that was 3x1 as well. Outside, the number, I guess we call it the number one outside, we'll run a vertical. The number two, we'll run a 14 to 16 yard out route. Number three, we'll run a flat. So it gives us each level of depth down the field. And I'll essentially read that flat defender or that strong side linebacker. Because most of the time we ran to the field. We ran to the boundary every now and then, but I read that back and I was just high-low based off of him. And if I caught that safety peeking a little bit, I would test him to see. Obviously, it would depend on who I had out there running. If I had Sammy out there, that's a no-brainer. I'm taking that shot and throwing it up to Sammy and seeing if he could go get it. But I love that concept. On the backside, I had a deeper out route as well, or a comeback based off of who we were playing. If you're playing against an Xavier Rhodes, that's some damn lockdown out there, so you're not going to take that shot anyways. But, I love that concept. And I love throwing smash concept, man. I was a big high-low kind of guy. Just because, easy decisions you got there. You're quick with the decision to make it happen. And usually it's, 80% of the time it's going to be a completion out there. But, I was a different kind of build player. So I mean, everybody in the house knew what was going to happen on 3rd and 4 or less. I mean, I was bringing Sammy in motion. He's coming on the jet sweep. I'm taking the jet sweep, and I'm coming downhill. So, that's kind of the way we ran our system.
Tajh, so you're at Clemson. As you're getting prepared for game day, your relationship between your quarterback coach, your offensive coordinator, your head coach, can you give us a sense for how those dynamics come into play when you're trying to put a scheme together?
So it was really big with those, because Chad technically coached quarterbacks too, Chad Morris.
Sure, right.
So at the particular time, I mean, I spent most of the time with him, and I would even go on that Sunday, and we would watch the film together. So then on Monday and Tuesday, we could talk about what was going to happen and what we liked and didn't like during the week. So, I mean, I spent most of the time game planning with him. He was very calm in practice, man. In the game, he was loose cannon, craziness out there. So, he would call a concept and it wouldn't work. And like, I don't know where my quarterback went, but you're going to have to figure it out. And I would have to rely on my backups behind me to be like, look, this is what I'm saying. What are you saying? And now we get the calm version from those guys. If
Chad Morris was the guy that you spent the most time with in trying to scheme, at what point does the head coach come into the whole scheming realm?
So the best part about Coach Sweeney is he's more of a facilitator. I mean, he's a true head coach. He has a coordinator on defense, a coordinator on offense. Kind of lets him do the job. Now, granted, he had about 3 or 4 trick plays that he wanted to run a game, and if he didn't get it his way, he would throw a fit over there. But usually when he caught him, it worked. So, it's a lot better for his confidence over there, man. Chad can't say anything on that nature, but Coach would get in every now and then. I don't know how it's working now with the dynamic over there because they have co-offensive coordinators. So I think Coach Sweeney's hand is in it a little bit more. But at the particular time, it was Chad's offense and it was Venable's defense, and it just was what it was at that point.
So you're obviously, when you're at Clemson, you're responsible for yourself first and foremost and having command of things. Did you feel on a certain level, you're the quarterback, do you feel responsible for everyone on offense? Are you personally making sure, the offensive line knows the checks? Do you make sure your receivers know everything you're saying, and are you sort of confident in everything like that? How did you reach the point where you were confident and you were communicating with everybody to make sure everyone was on the same page?
Well, that's the biggest thing is it's all about confidence. I mean, it exudes when you're walking out there in that field. So, man, I remember my first game starting, we were losing at half, man, after like 2 interceptions, had fumbled. We were playing Wofford or Troy. We were playing Troy University. And I remember coming back at halftime, and I had just the nastiest looks my way in the locker room. And one of the older guys was like, "You better get your shit together over there." I was like, "All right, man." So really, even if you didn't know what you were doing, you had to act like you knew what you were doing, just to inspire the guys around you, because it makes a difference, especially when you're talking about playing fast. Sometimes you'll look, and if a particular quarterback's not in the game, it looks like that the offense is moving a little bit slower. And a lot of times that is the case. It's not that the quarterback is moving slow. It's just that they don't have confidence in him. So they're second guessing everything that they're doing as well. Receivers are running a little bit more sloppy route. Offensive line is taking a play off here and there. And if your guys know what they expect out of you and you're performing at that level, you're always going to get the optimum out of your guys.
So now you mentioned that you're working with younger players now, competing for jobs, and you're working with sort of mentoring and, helping train quarterbacks.
A lot of it is just the mental preparation. Just going through these exact experiences that I had that they're going to go through. And, they got a little bit more time than they think they do. Because in college, anything can happen at that point. You look at last year in the national championship game. Tua didn't know he was going to play that game, but he was ready when his number was called. In college, you get that a lot. There's always going to be a Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady story at any given university. So the guys just got to be ready to do it. And I think that's just the nature of the beast, the quarterback in general. Case Keenum stepped up, Nick Foles stepped up. You just got to be confident in your abilities, but you can only do that if you're prepared. So, a man's ego is the biggest downfall in football, in sports. Mainly because they want to think that they know it, and they want to say that they know it. But when push comes to shove, do you really know it? you really know why you're throwing high off this corner cap blitz right here. Because, your back is supposed to be picking that up and over there. And you throw high anyways, and you got a guy in the middle of the field streaking wide open. You just lost the game. So the intricate details, the parts of the quarterback is what makes some guys elite and what makes some guys not so elite.
Do you think it's more difficult now because teams are more used to spread concepts, or do you feel like offenses are better prepared? Everything has evolved on offense to the point where there's RPOs, there are quicker ways to study with iPads and stuff like that. Do you feel like it is easier to play quarterback in a spread system in 2018, or is it a little more difficult because of what people know now?
I think that the spread offense is obviously more accepted at this point in football. And it's not slowing down from here. When was the last time you went to a middle school game and saw a kid dropping back and doing play actions? We haven't really. And that's just kind of where we're at in football. But at some point, the whole NFL system is going to change because the older players the older coaches that were once in control of everything are going to face the Sean McVays where they grew up in this generation right here. So, from a scheme standpoint, the offense is always going to have to evolve a little bit, just because the defense is always going to become a little bit more complex. The first year, we ran RPOs and run pass tags my senior year, and we had just installed it right after the season, after LSU, my junior year. And I remember having to pick up on that, and that was a transition, And then I remember the Jets asking me about it. It was like, hey, in Clemson, y'all ran this, and this. Tell me how it worked. And I remember telling them to the exact T how it worked. And they was like, no, we're going to do it this way. And it was the same way that I had just told them. So they really wanted to just make it theirs. But now at some point, the game's going to be college football, man, whether people like it or not. The players don't change. These are the same guys that are playing at that level. But, if the NFL could be separate, I think that's what people would like the most. But at some point, they're just going to have to accept that that's just the new way of football at this point.
Well, very cool. This is really insightful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Look, man, during the season, let me know. We'll get up here and chat some more. I still don't like Dolphins. But, just holler at me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, man.
Appreciate it. As always, man. You're the best.
Okay, Dan, again, that is Tajh Boyd, former standout quarterback from Clemson. You know him well if you're a college football fan. I thought a really honest conversation, Dan.
Yeah.
A much different kind of conversation than the ones we've had with Seth Luttrell and Joe Moorhead and Chris Brown, but really some insight from a firsthand perspective as to what it's like to actually be the guy in the huddle, trying to recite the verbiage, trying to run the plays.
I had minor panic attacks when he was talking about having to learn like 100 plays in an hour with that were full on sentences that sound like each play call was an essay, the draft is coming up in about a month from when we're recording this right now. We've got 4, 5, 6, depending on how deep you think this class is going into the maybe early mid-second round, top guys. And so much goes into that transition. You watch all these guys in college, whether it's Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen or Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and they come out of college looking like they have mastered college defenses, like they are a step ahead. And then they're moving to a place where they are 17 and a half steps behind. So that perspective, especially coming from Tajh, who succeeded to such a crazy degree at Clemson against the highest level of competition. And also, Ty, I went back and watched some Tajh Boyd clips.
Yeah.
What an amazing career. His build, first of all, he's solidly built, but with a great arm and was asked to run a ton, sort of just the most modern of quarterbacks. And to hear him talk frankly about that transition was super interesting.
No doubt about it. All right. Don't forget to check out our friends over again at oliversapparel.com. Use the code SOLID at checkout. They'll knock 15% off your order. We will be back tomorrow.
Oh, man.
We're going to do a bonus show tomorrow and talk questions, talk answers from the Verballerhood out there. We've had so much come in over the span of the last month or so that we want to try and incorporate as much of that into our programming as humanly possible. So
they will all be 100% correct, our answers.
Absolutely. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein. For myself, Ty Hildenbrandt, thanks again for tuning in to Scheme Theme here on the show. We'll be back at you tomorrow. Stay solid.
Peace.